Hi, intrepid viewers. I'm back. I went interstate for an engagement party in the family, and it was a straight couple, which was a novelty. I don't know why people still do it myself, but there you go. And it was fabulous. And it was a cultural mix, of Cook Islanders who are Pacific Islanders marrying into a big Greek family. So there were a lot of people, there was a lot of food and a lot of great music. So I am now back in my home city, only to find it's been taken over. It's been taken over by Taylor Swift. She's doing Australian concerts at the moment, and her opening concert in Melbourne was at our biggest sports stadium, the NCG, and it holds 100,000 people, packed, all her concerts. I think it's totaling something like 250,000 people in Australia are going to see Taylor Swift. So it just goes to show popular culture, go Taylor. And there was some weird stat from years ago, maybe someone can find it out there. I think more people voted in American Idol than voted in to get Reagan in or something like that. But speaking of voting, I'll get back to that in a minute. Let's start. So Santos hasn't quite gone yet. How come he's still walking around? But now his seat is in Democratic hands, and he is suing Jimmy Kimmel. So I'm going to have a quick look at that just to warm up, really. Let's have a look. Santos and Jimmy Kimmel. Yeah. I think the Empress card here, I think that's Santos. Everything he does is larger than life. The Empress expands everything he does. Why is he doing it? He's after the coin or the money, not mysterious. But look at these. We have the Queen of Wands. This, I think, could be actually Jimmy Kimmel's representation if it goes that far. A high-powered female lawyer. Santos, this should not surprise you. The Nine of Pentacles, this is about the good life that he has now lost. So we can safely say he's always been a grifter and a scammer and so on. He was on a good wicket and now he's not. So he's pining for the good life here. But this woman isn't taking any notice of this rubbish. There will be some sort of conflict over this. I don't even know what Jimmy Kimmel's supposed to be has done to Santos. And I'll share with you, I don't care. I don't care. But there will be conflict over this. People will take sides. Really? Is there nothing better to do at the moment? But anyway, while speaking of Jimmy Kimmel, if you haven't seen yet his latest rap on being the Yeti, i.e. Trump, it's hilarious. And I think comedians who are probably like most of us burnt out and exhausted over the last 6 years of this mayhem and chaos and filth and drama, they're coming back. And I think when things are really bad, it's really important to still have a laugh in the face of the madness. Right? Now, on a more serious note, since we last spoke, intrepid viewers, Trump took it upon himself to announce that Putin should have the green light for attacking any NATO countries if they haven't paid their bills. Bills to who? He means him. He actually means him. Now, there was a time 6 years ago, this would have disqualified him from running. So everything he does is in that category, but even something as dramatically bad as that. But I'm here to tell you from someone not sitting in the USA, the world is not impressed and seriously not happy with him doing that. You know, NATO represents a huge number of European countries, and to be treated by this cretinous bully in this way, they are furious. So I also don't understand, I'll be frank, why the Pentagon hasn't actually waded in on some level, going, this is a risk to the world order. It really is. So I'm just going to have a quick look. The Pentagon, you know, are they actually going to have a say, or are they going to sit on their hands for this election year? Because he'll say more things because he never gets smacked, you know. Okay. Will the Pentagon actually do anything about these sort of statements? So, well, they're talking. Oh, this is interesting. I didn't have much hope with this question, frankly. But this is what I get. They are talking. Now, they, and this would also be the State Department and other high-level organisations, are talking to the allies. This is people who you respect and who, until the Yeti came on the scene, respected America. So this is trying to undo the damage, right? This is diplomatic stuff. But there are so many things that he says and does, as well as it being an extremely volatile time in world history, but so many things that he does, they are being forced to make a plan step by step. This is followed by the magician card, which is now morphed into my Jack Smith card. I think, well, God, please, if that trial comes forward, that will provide a cover for the Pentagon politically to say more and do more. They really need to do more. And the doing more could take the form of, as if the Yeti wasn't short of court cases, I think he could be charged by some group or agency, or it might be certain individuals or somebody, about this spewing of statements that impact on the rest of the world. There'll be some legal pushback, these two together. So hopefully that'll move forward. So the Pentagon really needs to have closed door conversations with what's left of the GOP and others, and because they show no sign of reining him in. But here's the thing. It's pretty clear, really. You know, their line should be, it's America or Trump, you know. Anyway, the GOP has other problems. Don't you love the new sneakers? I thought I was hallucinating a few days ago when the sneakers were launched. Words fail me. Not a common occurrence, the sneakers. Is he for real? No teenager is going to be caught dead in those shoddy sneakers. So the MAGAs might have them, but I don't know how many MAGAs have a lazy $400. Because do you remember, I think it was only leading into COVID, the statistic was out there that 40% of Americans do not have more than $400 on hand for emergencies, nearly half the population. But maybe they will. They'll borrow the money themselves and buy their sneakers. I mean, I don't understand. But the GOP is in trouble because it always had the NRA, and they are now a fraudulent organisation with no money, and the big donors are moving away in droves. Oh. Okay, so next question. Stormy. I was watching one of the legal programs the other night, and the legal eagles were saying so much has happened since the original Stormy Daniels stuff unfolded. Then we had Michael Cohen, mea culpa, reinventing himself and now being a household name. So much has happened that we sort of have a bit of a yawn over the hush money case. But the legal eagles were saying, no, keep an eye. And it's the first where he is in the courtroom as a defendant. So let's see. And that starts, I think, on the 25th of March. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. Stormy Daniels, the hush money case. Okay. What can we expect there? Two of those cards have turned up, and I put them in the pack in different places. Interesting. Okay, so I don't think it's going to fly out of the blocks. Right. This could also be people resting their opinion until the legal stuff unfolds. Okay, why people haven't made up their mind about the Yeti is truly mystifying. But I think it's going to start with a whimper rather than a bang, but I think it might gain momentum. There'll be some revelations here with this high priestess. You know, we think we know the ins and outs of this case. Mais non. I think there's going to be some juicy stuff here. Now, this will be new alliances. Remember, we just had this card of alliances. Brand new day with the film. So this could actually ripple back and have more impact than just the case in that courtroom, because the Queen of Wands is also here. And she is, I think personally, the strongest of the queens. So the Queen of Swords is very judicial, very Judge Judy-like. This has more gravitas. Stacey Abrams just flew into my mind from Georgia. Stacey, where are you when we need you? She should be front and center of the Dem campaign leading through this year, even though she's not actually competing. You need other people with gravitas pushing the narrative out there. Okay, so Stormy's going to have her day. There's such a queue of women, isn't there? Look at this. Okay, now something that you may have missed is Mexico is suing 8 gun manufacturers in the US for $10 billion because the government maintains that over 70% of the weapons on the street in Mexico, in drug cartels and other illegal operations, are trafficked in from the US. And the 8 companies are the usual, you know, Smith & Wesson and Glock and Colt and Beretta USA, and no shortage of them. And they're suing all of them. So I'm kind of interested. Will Mexico win this court case? Oops. Let's see. 2 cards want to come out, so we'll have a look at those and take it from there. Yes, it's a burden, to be sure, to be sure. Oh, God. Sometimes you wonder why you shuffle with these cards. Okay, so now, first up, the Queen of Cups. This is deep feminine energy. What I suspect is behind this in Mexico is actually women. So women who have lost their sons and sometimes their daughters to gangland stuff are perhaps pushing the Catholic guilt buttons to the Mexican government. You need to do something about this, right? And so I think President Obrador has been pressured, I think, from women about this. This is a burden for the country of Mexico. And it's partly geography, it's partly history, but also we've got to remember that the American war on drugs, which we inherited in other countries, the original war on drugs led to recreational and other drugs being big business that then attracted big cartels and big gangs. This is the burden both ways, burden on Mexico and a moral burden as well. So more of the matriarchy here with this Queen of Pentacles. I think the argument these women are making, I digress. Obrador is an interesting character. He apparently goes on public radio every day for an hour or something, and people can ring in and talk to their leader. And that's why I think this is cutting through. So I think women and women's groups are making the argument we cannot prosper until the scale of these gang wars and this is addressed. So this may be just a ho-hum for us everywhere else, but it's a really big deal in Mexico. They want a quality of life back that they should be entitled to. Mexico is not a small economy, right? I think there could be more of a call for redistribution of wealth in Mexico after this, and to walk away from the lawlessness of entrenched crime in terms of these weapons on the street. So that in a way gave me the background to this story, and I'm just going to pull another quick couple of clarifiers on will this impact on the arms manufacturers. Look, if there's 8 of them and it's 10 bill, they could pay off that fine and not blink because there's plenty of Americans buying weapons. Okay, so let's have a quick look here at these companies. Right, okay. What I think this is about is, I think many of us will be quite shocked when the light is shone on the scale and nature of these gun sales. Here, these companies, I think, are actually more dependent than we perhaps realize on these sales of guns, because the US has this department that's allegedly tasked with looking at where is the destination for any arms sales from America, who is the biggest arms manufacturer, where do they go? And, you know, that department I don't think has a great deal of teeth, but we'll see. But this is traditionally waiting for the ships to come in, but I think this is the arms manufacturers themselves pushing those boats out and waiting for the monetary return. So I don't think it's going to make a blip, sadly. Okay, now, while I am separating these cards and shuffling, a viewer very kindly sent me a notice and asked me to announce that you guys have until February 20th, which is only tomorrow, to register for voting in the presidential elections. And she pointed out to me that it was on page 12 of the voting guide. And I thought, who gets to page 12 of a voting guide? Why is American democracy so convoluted, so difficult to navigate? It's insane. So Americans, I'm sure you're all brought up to believe, greatest democracy on earth and all of that stuff. And you go around the world spreading democracy, which is, I'll digress just another moment, usually a way to get customers for big multinational corporations headed in American companies. But call me cynical. But the point is, other democracies around the world, and there are many, they all have simpler systems than this in the US. In Australia, you turn 18, you get a letter from the government saying you're now entitled to vote, and you register your name and address with the Electoral Commission. That's it for life. You can vote anywhere, anytime for the next 87 years because you're registered as a citizen to vote. You don't have to register for a party or for the affiliations or register separately for something and something. I mean, it's insane. It's actually, you'd have to think, deliberately complicated to keep people from voting. And I used to always wonder why America had such low turnouts. The system is crazy. So, as many of you say, you should get rid of the Electoral College and have an electoral commission, and their job is to make sure it's equal, fair, and standard in a national election. If it's a state election, people can do what they like. But if it's a national election, it should be national. It should look the same in Missouri or Michigan or Milwaukee. It should be exactly the same rules. You shouldn't have to reinvent the wheel every time you have an election. All these, shut up, Lena, moving on. Okay, now, judges are getting progressively frustrated. They're still working their way through the January 6th defendants, and they're hearing more and more of these mad MAGA theories coming out in their own defense. And two judges have spoken up this week, and one said, I've been on the bench for 37 years. I'm used to people not being responsible for what they did. It's quite common. People don't take responsibility. But I have never heard such nonsense being treated as a mainstream conversation. And he was really disturbed. And another woman who pointed out something that George Washington said. I'll save that for the end. In the meantime, I want to know generally what's happening with the Fani Willis dramas in Georgia. We've had a look, but that was a month ago. She's now given her testimony. But really, the voting system, if it was that complicated in Australia, we would have shelved democracy 100 years ago. Yeah. Simplify the voting system. Okay. So let's what is happening with Fani and Georgia. She was very strong and no nonsense in her testimony. But is it enough? Will the case go ahead? Derailed. Let's look at Fani Willis, Georgia. And then I've got some important housekeeping to share with you. Okay. So, this is not marvelous, I have to say. I'll bring you up to speed with these cards and then I'll pull some clarifiers. I think this has been massively stressful for her. She's tried to keep under the radar and out of the fray, but it has taken its toll, right? She is feeling very defensive. Now, these cards, I think she has experienced some degree of loss. She would feel reputational loss. But always remember with the 5 of Cups, 3 are down, 2 are up. So she's still got it. But she's got to be careful because she's been hemmed in by this case and now it's out there. There's nothing we can do to undo that damage. But the 8 of Swords is about self-imposed swords. So I think these cards are actually easier to understand in this order. I think she's had all these swords in the back. You can imagine. You can just imagine. No one has left her unstabbed in this context. Here she is now, feeling it. She's really feeling it. Cups are emotion. But the way forward is to harness. She has such immense personal fortitude. She's got to let it go. She has to let this go and shimmy out of the bonds, take off the blindfold and step forward into her power. Just do another couple. Extra advice for Farney. Good luck, Farney. Let's see. 1, 2. There'll be more juggling, trying to restore the ship to balance. And this card, which is sort of the card du jour today, trusts that she's done enough and the boats will come in. But at the moment, I'd add that to those other 3. She's feeling quite unsteady. She doesn't let on, but she is feeling quite unsteady and she's been through a lot. Right. But she will be okay. The case will be okay because so much work has been done. Okay, now, before I get to the George Washington quote that I think is amazing, so I want to thank you guys for the donations. I really appreciate it. You know, I can't thank you enough. And the other thing, I want to let you know about 2 events that are coming up. One is Hogarth, and I'm sure by now you all know Hogarth, and if you don't, it's Hogarth, Hogarth's Astrology. He's doing a big workshop in New Mexico. I think it's in late August, but check out his channel. But also Jen Lin. I love Jen Lin. So Jen Lin's tarot, that's Jen with 2 N's and Lin with 2 N's. And she's doing 2 workshops and they are soon. One's the 14th to the 16th of June and the other is the 21st to the 23rd of June. And I know how Jen Lin works and they're very small workshops and she gives you guys a lot of care and attention. And she's really good at running these seminars and workshops and you'll learn heaps and you'll meet fabulous people. So jump on Jen Lin's channel. Now, just before I hit the road, a female judge who's been dealing endlessly with these January 6 tourists, she put out a quote, and this is from George Washington's farewell address. It's only a few lines, so I'll read it. He warned Americans to guard against impostors of pretended patriotism. Distrust the patriotism in any quarter who endeavours to weaken our bonds of our democratic experiment. Now, bless him for that. He had other flaws. So I think Americans should take that to heart. And what I take away from that is there's a need to flip this idea of what being a patriot is, and it isn't a Confederate flag and 5 guns and a pipe. Okay. So there are other aspects to patriotism, like saving your country, All right, guys, best of luck. Let me know what you think about all sorts of things in the comments. Okay. And if you haven't seen it, I'm sure it's on YouTube somewhere. Jimmy Kimmel, he's done 2 raps recently. One I think is better than the other. Anyway, take care, guys. See you next time. Ciao.